What's up, everybody? This your boy Bill Forster. Happy Monday to you all. I am. First and foremost. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. God bless you all. I thank you all. Uh, from the times that we are dealing with, we just all need prayer. Whomever your higher power is, you need to pray and definitely do that. We got an excellent show tonight. I have a good friend of the family that is coming in with us, and I am so happy to have him with us tonight. I will get to him in a few more seconds, but let me just say this to everybody. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I am your host, Bill Forster, with my lovely wife, Malika Vaughn Forster. She is doing other things right now, and that's okay because sometimes we just can't be together and do everything at the same time. But tonight, we have a good friend of the Forster family. He is family, he is not just a friend. We say all these things because we mean it. I may delve into that later on why we are so close. But with that being said, I want to introduce my good friend, my family man, Mr. Assemblyman Al Taylor. Al Taylor, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
Hey, thank you for the invitation, my brother Bill. Blessings to you and the beautiful queen. I am feeling well, glad to be here.
Oh,
Thank you for the
awesome, man.
invitation.
Oh, absolutely, man. Al, it's a beautiful thing. We'll tell people we don't even have to tell them because not that they have to know, but you are family and you are a friend of the family. We are family. Shout outs to your
Yes,
wife, your brother-in-law, to the whole family, the Taylor family, everybody. Al, with that being
yes,
said,
sir.
let's first everybody out there, this is Real Talk Chronicles. We are YouTube Live, we are Facebook Live. Please go under my name on the Facebook and share. Push the share button to your page or do a watch party. We are also on YouTube. If you have any questions for the assemblyman, please just type them in and chop them in, type them in. I will ask him. Um, Not often do we get people of a political status to come in and talk to us about what's going on in the world today from a politics standpoint, and especially being a person of color, also being a individual that is really in the community and doing what he is supposed to do for the people. And we'll talk about that. So first and foremost, Al, for the people who don't know exactly what an assemblyman is, can you tell them what an assemblyman is?
Wow, I'll give you the short version. How much time we have? An hour?
We got it. We got as long as you want to be with us, but
Uh,
we
oh
go ahead.
man. The assembly there are 150 of us in the state of New York. You have three parts of the legislative body. There is the Senate, there is the Assembly, and then there's the governor. The Senate and the Assembly come together, pass legislation, the governor signs it. That's basically how it works. That's the overview. But we represent in New York State. We have a a constituency base of about 130,000. We do legislation. We write laws. Now I'm going to dive down a little bit more than that because part of what I've been doing and have been fortunate enough to do on the legislative side is I was chief of staff for an assembly member who was in the assembly for 44 years, the Honorable Herman Denny Farrell Jr. There, I served as an intern to a legislative aide to a chief of staff person. And there, what we do is spend time working with our constituents, rent, hot water, the normal issues that you have from soup to nuts. If there was a problem as a constituent, or if you have that problem, we're here to help you migrate through it. Whether it's an issue with the police, whether it's an issue on your job, heat, hot water, you put it in front of us and we'll try to refer. The other part of that is drafting legislation, passing legislation on a state level and working in tandem with our city elected officials and our federal elected officials.
Awesome, awesome. That's a beautiful thing. Uh, Enlighten us. Let us know what it was like working with a legend, Denny Farrell, the Honorable Denny Farrell. How was that?
Um, wow, Bill, he and I were kind of like you and I. You know, you
Yes,
hit as soon as you come together, and it's like
yes,
you've been there so long, but you're not there that long, and it seems like you've been there forever. I met Denny while I was in college. I came out to do an internship before I graduated from college, and then I found out there was a New York State Assembly internship, which sent me to Albany, and I did like 2 years of internships with him before I was actually hired. Um, Denny was just amazing. It never seemed like I worked for him because he didn't treat me as an employee, but he treated me
Right,
like a son, a nephew. He was like the older person, and he mentored me in a way that it's just like it's leaps and bounds. Integrity, number one. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't commit to anything you're not willing to stand with. I miss him. He got sick, and he left the assembly in 2017, and I went in a special election. Just amazing. One of the things that always stood out to me, and a lot of people may not know his history, but you know his work. So, for example, Denny passed the as chair of banks. He passed the law that says when you put your money in the bank, from the moment you deposit your money that day, you start accruing interest on your money that the bank owes you. Prior to that, that didn't exist. Also, if you have a check, if it's a local check, it's 3 business days. If it's a state check, it's 5 business days. And I can't remember if it was out of country what it would be. So that legislation Denny introduced, and they started doing in New York State before it became the federal practice. So he was well ahead of his time in terms, and
mm.
he was self-taught. He didn't graduate from college. He was Panamanian, Jamaican, Irish, and just amazing. I could go on, but just amazing.
Awesome, beautiful thing. Um, so Al, let people know what's your area that you cover in lieu of being an assemblyman for the people in Harlem that
Uh,
don't know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have the northern part of Harlem, so I start at 142nd. If you're on Lenox Avenue, I start at 142nd, and I go north to Wrangle Houses, Polo Grounds, right there. If in and then I go over. If you're on the Riverside Drive part, I start at 140th at the Castle. I call it the Castle, right there, 140th,
Right
in
on my
Riverside, and
block.
I go all the way up to that. Right there,
That's
you
my
made the
block.
cut, baby.
That's my block.
So yeah, right there, right out your window is where I start, and I go
Yeah.
to Dykeman. So I grew up. This is all Harlem until you went to Inwood. Now is Harlem, it's Washington Heights, it's Inwood, it's Hamilton Heights, and I have all of that. Harlem, Washington Heights, Inwood. I got 3 buildings in Inwood and Hamilton Heights as well. Almost river to river to Dykeman.
So let me ask you a question about that because
Hmm.
you and I, we're Harlem Nights. I grew up, you know,
Yes.
where I'm at. The castle was always considered Upper West Side, but it was always still Washington Heights. You know, it's still not Washington Heights. It was still Harlem because back in the days we would
Right.
say if you're going up the hill, up 145th Street, we go in the Riverside area. You're going down the hill, you're going to the
Yep.
Ave. How do you
Yep.
feel about and shout out to Mark Levine. I know that's your man. And he covers my area. I haven't seen him. Maybe you're gonna help me get him on the show one day to get both of you on the show one day. Um, how do you feel
Let's
about
do it.
yes, let's do it. How do you feel about the changing of the names of our areas?
Oh no, I don't appreciate that. And I'm always Harlem, Harlem, Harlem. So living at 142nd Street in Edgecombe and going up the hill to see some of y'all back in the day, it was still Harlem. It wasn't like I'm going to Hamilton Heights. Although you were right there at 140th in Hamilton, yo, you was still Harlem. There was no differentiating between that part of Harlem. You went up on the hill, you went down in the valley, but you weren't outside of Harlem. So I'm of the old persuasion, and some people said, well, it's time to replace the old regime. But you know what? As long as I'm here, 8th Avenue is 8th Avenue. 7th Avenue is 7th Avenue. And you can tell the new people that come along, they say, well, Frederick Douglass, I have to stop and think. Frederick Douglass, oh, that's 8th Avenue. Oh, Malcolm X. You mean Lennox 7th? And that's what it is. And that's how we grew up. When you cross 110th Street, You were on 8th Avenue Uptown. You were on Lenox Uptown, or you were on 7th Avenue. And that's what it was. And much respect to our African American heroes that they've named these streets afterwards. I certainly appreciate that, because the longevity of that is going to be good. But I still reference it as 7th Avenue and 8th Avenue
Accidentally, because you know what's so funny?
respectfully.
I laugh when people start giving me
But
these
the ones that
acronyms.
the new arrivals or the late arrivals, yeah, like they try to do that NoHo. What? Nah, Soho. Nah, dude. South of no. Don't change the name. You know what I'm saying? And big shout out to my brother and my good friend Senator Brian Benjamin. Yo, he went at him. I was like, yo, that dude got some fire in his belly when he went after them. So it was good.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was it was
yeah.
definitely good. You
Shout
can't
out to Brian.
change.
I know that. Shout out to
Yeah.
Brian. I know that baby is running him around that house. The last time I spoke to him, we got to get
Oh,
Brian out. We're gonna hook him up. What we're gonna do? We're gonna get you, Brian, and Mark Levine all on the show one day before this election, or maybe after this election, because I know Brian is thinking about
dude, let's.
running for another office too, isn't he? Right?
You don't say.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
yeah,
Listen, just so the record is straight, I certainly endorsed him. I was happy to stand out there at 110th Street. I think it was just past Friday where he made his announcement that he was running for New York City Comptroller, and I was happy to stand there with a good friend and a great young man that has a heart for the city, has a heart for the community, and not only does he have the heart, he has the experience to go with it, and he's equipped to go do the job.
yeah. Shout out to Brian. He's a good dude. All respect to our Harlem family. You know, it's so funny. Let me just ask you a question before we really delve into things.
Yes.
First, let me say this. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. I have Assemblyman Al Taylor. He's family. It's a beautiful thing. I'm so glad that I have him in my life. I'm so glad that he is
Oh,
a
bless
family
you.
to me. And the fact that he was willing to come on. A lot of times people are always busy. And the fact that he saw us and he was like, yo, I said, Al, you ready? He was like, yo, let's do this. And he was like, yo, we're going to make this happen Monday. And I appreciate that. And that was so good. Shout out to Latima Brown.
Bless you.
She's running for city council in the Bronx, I think the 17th district. Um, Yvette Williams, thank you. We don't appreciate the multi-name changes for Harlem. Exactly. June Broxton, shout out to Brian Benjamin. Yes. Uh, Exactly, Latima Brown. She said they better leave the street names alone. I know. I saw your show. You had Latima Brown that you were talking about the origin of how they became Whole Avenue in the Bronx. That was a whole different other thing. You
Yes.
know, shout out to everybody that's watching, and we appreciate you on behalf of my lovely wife and Assemblyman Al Taylor. I am your host, Bill Forster. I ask you all if you like what you hear, share the button, hit the share button, share it. If you have questions, put them in. I will ask the assemblyman any questions that you have. What's up, Uptown? I see you in the building. Sister Brenda's in the building. Al, I know you have another thing coming up. You'll be speaking at something. Sister Brenda McLaughlin sent me something that you'll be speaking in October 20 something, or it had to do with the elders or something.
Oh, brother, thank you. There are two things, and I will have it in front of you before we get off the line. One is we're doing with Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance, we're doing an elder abuse virtual, and we're also doing a domestic violence one with the Manhattan District Attorneys. And I believe the 24th, I don't have it in front of me, but I will pull it up and give it to you, so your folks can have it. I just don't have it in front of me, but I'll pull it up.
Okay, okay. Well, please,
One is elder
sister,
abuse, and one is with domestic violence.
Sister Brenda, if you get a chance, if you're listening, shout me the text me the dates or send them in the thing so we can see the date so I can shout that out so we can definitely promote what the assemblyman is doing. Also, you know, let me ask you a question. Like, uh, wow, we have so much to talk about. It is really something. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. We have Assemblyman Al Taylor in the building. Shout out to everybody that is watching. I ask you all to like it and share it. This is what we do. This is Real Talk Chronicles. Al and I will be talking, and I'm going to ask Al to make sure we get all the people we can on. Um, that's you coming on again.
Operate a lot better.
Okay,
Not better.
okay. I'll remove the other one.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. So I got you. I took you off of that one. So
Okay.
and if you
Excellent.
want to
Now
come
we
back,
kick it.
yeah. So there's so much going on in New York City today. Uh, like you said, we talked about name change, and like we're not for that. People give me acronyms. I don't know where they're talking about. I don't know what city, places. They be like A C B and all that. I be like, I don't know where that's at. You talking about Seventh Avenue? Okay, my bad. You know what I'm saying? See,
Yeah.
but at least I know where they come from. Um, thank you, thank you everybody for chiming in. I appreciate you all. But I have a question for the Assemblyman right now. With
Yes.
with the way there's a man in power that has talked about how lawlessness democratic cities are. When he did his uh uh when he had his debate with Biden, he the proctor Chris Wallace made sure and corrected him, fact checked him, and let him know that lawlessness is happening in red states too, which I thought is
Yes.
very prevalent and important for all of us. My question to you is that what do you feel is happening in New York City with the lawlessness? Because crime has risen, which is something that is problematic. But what is your take on that? And then we'll go into what do you think about police reform and defunding of the police. But what do you think about what's happening with the crime and things of that magnitude right now?
Um, I don't think that I can separate the two, Bill. I think there's a correlation. So if you go back to January 1, or better yet, let's go back to March when we closed session in 2019. We ended in June. We had passed one of the most progressive criminal reform laws that New York has seen in its history.
Right.
So immediately, and you can see remnants of that. And if you're listening to most of our local radio stations, news stations, they're playing these ads about this person voted for that, and they are reckless and they're in step with this. Um, I believe 1,000% that we acted appropriately in the assembly when we push for reform. That was bail reform and a lot of other different things that needed to take place in that push, which says if you have done a low-level file, a low-level crime, misdemeanor, whatever it is, and you're arrested, if you don't have $2 to get out, you're not guilty because you don't have $2, but you're treated as if you're guilty. Let that person
Absolutely.
come out. And if you look
Absolutely.
at the young man, and forgive me because I didn't jot his name, but he committed suicide after spending time in jail where they were accusing him of stealing a backpack.
Right.
And
That's crazy. That's crazy.
exactly. So at the end of the day, and let me be totally transparent. I'm not speaking as one that has never had an issue with the criminal system, if you would. As a teenager, at 16, 17, living in Harlem, I've been arrested in the 30th precinct. I was there when they
Right.
first built it.
Yep.
I was in the 32nd precinct. I was in the 50th precinct, and I was in the 34th precinct. Coming out of high school, not coming out of, but as a high school student, having these different issues, jumping the train and so forth like that. So for me, there's always been some issues, but we also have to have law and we have to have public safety in place. So I'm trying to get to the short answer as best I can. But if you
Well,
go,
Al, hold on. Let me just interject. This is your show tonight. You're family. So you can talk as long as you want because it's all about Al Taylor tonight. It's all about the Assemblyman, my brother, in
bless
here.
you.
So we're going to rock. And this is real talk. You know how we get down. So this is what it is. Go
Brother
ahead,
Bill,
brother. So
bless
go
you.
ahead.
And so I'm just gonna go get open. So
Yes, open.
from the moment we passed that legislation, the conversation began. The media started to beat up the legislators for implementing this new legislation that was going to start January 1. Now, keep in mind, it was 50 years. It took 50 years to do this legislation. Everything was on a steady flow. And when we did this bail reform and a couple other different things that was in that package for criminal reform, we were on the we were back at the table, Bill, in less than 90 days to repeal it. Talking about, oh, this is not working. When have you ever reversed something in 90 days? It has not had enough I'm not saying that you couldn't tweet it if you needed to tweet it, but at the same time, in 90 days, impossible, unheard of. So people started the narrative from Long Island and other places that we are letting everybody out. It's like that song, hide your wife, hide your kids, they bugging out. No, we are not. We're saying you can't do this on the backs of Black and brown community residents, and it's time for it to stop. That doesn't mean you can't do good policing. That means that if you've arrested someone, why are they sitting in jail for 2 years before discovery information that they can get to defend themselves? And they turn it and say, well, you know what? If we give that information, you're going to put the witness or somebody at harm. And we're not saying we want to put somebody in harm's way, but we're saying that individual that has not been found guilty of anything, they've been charged, but they cannot get out of jail because you guys haven't presented your information to go forward in court. That's a tragedy to all the Black and brown folks that were facing that. So we're saying fix that. And if you don't have $2, I'm going to tell you, I had an opportunity in one of my encounters to meet a guy by the name, a man of justice by the name of Judge Bruce Wright. They call him Turn Him Loose Bruce because he looked at your situation. He understood, listen, you know what? There is a situation here, but I'm not going to throw the book at you because you've not been yet proven guilty. So if there's a way to let you go home, you're going home. I'm one of those guys that went home. I never went to Rikers in my life, but I was able to leave New York and join the military as a military police officer, serving my country in spite of what the system was trying to throw at me. And I'm saying all we wanted to do was make sure our Black and brown boys and girls are not being thrown away like they're going to a slave ship to eternity because they made a wrong U-turn somewhere. And if I'm in the burbs, that does not happen. And immediately there was the union started to run this thing, and there's one that keep running it right now. They said this one guy said, hey, y'all can't keep me in jail. We didn't let the whole world out. And let's say in 90 days, if you had 9,000 arrests, maybe 10 or something was, you need to look at it. But at the end of the day, they started selling a narrative that's not true. Why am I giving you all of that? Because when you look at it today, it's a continue of what they started the minute we passed that legislation that said this is lawlessness. We knew there was going to be an election coming up. And then the president has the nerve to pimp that and say there's lawlessness. I don't have a way to prove it, but I am convinced there is a slowness when you're responding to things. Now, I know as an MP in the military, when the dispatch sends me something, it takes me X a while to get there, or I can pick up and answer where I'm at, or I can be slow to tell you I got that call or slow to answer it. And I understand those things are happening. I'm not saying that is.
Now hold on, Al. Let me chime in because you were saying a lot of things. First and foremost, appreciate you. Didn't know you was a vet, so I salute you. That's what's real talk, right? Well, on top of that, of course, for all those who don't know, I was probably a law enforcement. Shout out to my law enforcement family that are chiming in. I see you, Kev. I see you, Kenny. Just shout out to the whole former family. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in right now. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your boy, Bill Foster. That's my man, Assemblyman Al Taylor. We are talking about right now reform and policing slowing down. Now, everybody knows that I was retired. And shout out Miss Pickett Fowler. I see you, Jay. Shout out to just everybody. I appreciate you. This is what it is. This is real talk. Very seldom do you get a chance to talk to Assemblyman, and then he's going to keep it real talk as what we do. With that being said, I get into it with my former law enforcement family because they feel that it's them against the world. Everything that you're saying is totally great, but I have to always tell them like, yo, I'm Black first before I'm blue.
Yes.
So I don't get into this Blue Lives Matter. No disrespect to the blue, but when you tell me about Blue Lives Matter, that's like saying Orange Men. That's like saying Red Men or St. John's. That's a fraternity. That's a organization. I can never put a job before my ethnicity. And I don't understand how they get so delusional and caught up into just being blue and not being who they are first and foremost. With that being said, we know law enforcement is slowing down because they feel that the city is against them. I ask them all the time, how do you take a civil servant job to protect and serve the oath, but you don't want to do the oath because you're mad because you dislike de Blasio? I don't know too many people who do like de Blasio right now. And that's neither here nor there. But the bottom line is do your job. The city is running now. When we talk about reform and excuse me, listen, there is no way in hell a person, like you said, that doesn't have $2 that has not committed a violent crime needs to sit in jail. Do I think a person that's committed a heinous crime needs to sit in jail? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So there needs to be some change and fixture with that. And like you said, that's what you guys do, and that's why we're here talking about that. But lo and behold, for law enforcement to just fall back and not do anything because you're mad. Oh, they don't like me. And Trump says he loves blue. Listen, I ask all my law enforcement people, what has Trump ever done for you? I'll wait. You can chime in, and or if you don't even have to chime in. You can come on the show and tell me, and we can go back to that for that. You
Real
understand
talk.
what I'm saying? But so go ahead, Al. It is so disheartening to me that like law enforcement feels that it is them against the world. And we're going to talk about the Breonna Taylors and the George Floyds and that. We're going to get into all that. But it is so disheartening that when we take a job, like that's the job I took. But that's not who I am. I'm still B Fly for the people that know me from Harlem. You know, all that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still 4-star. Like there's so many different facets. I'm the martial artist. There's so many different facets to me that builds the man that made me a great officer. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I don't call myself a cop because I think that's a derogatory word. I call myself a police officer because that means I
Absolutely.
protect and serve. So,
Absolutely.
you know, just like you said, you were already chiming in, but I wanted people out here to understand where we are with this mentality. And you know, one day when we're together and we're breaking bread, I'm going to show you the things that I see in these private groups. And I always say to myself, how how can you honestly tell me you did the job the way you're supposed to do it when the things you say the way you say them now? You understand what I'm saying, Al?
True talk. Real talk.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody out there with him saying that is Real Talk. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I am Bill Forster. Today we have my brother, a family member, Assemblyman Al Taylor. You got questions? Shout him out to this man. He is here. He is going to be with us as long as he wants to be with us. He's going to answer your questions. This is what it is. Al, I'm going to just change for a second because we're going to get back to the reform and the things like that. But how have you been during this whole COVID situation, this pandemic?
I am so blessed. Somewhere along the line, I had some type of impact, unbeknownst to me. I have the antibodies because I was
Mm-hmm.
getting tested, and they said, "Oh, you have the antibodies." And they said, "Did you feel sick? Did you?" And I can't recall anywhere. That's when I say, "Man, ain't God good?" That's terrible English, but God is so awesome. Um, I would say the first 3 or 4 weeks, Bill, Gwen had me on lock. Like, yo, you can't
Right.
go out, you can't do this. I'm like, if I don't and others don't, how are people getting their needs met? And so I called my nephew who works for one of these construction companies, and he does um, hazmat. So he gave
Yes.
me the suit, he gave me the gloves, he gave me everything. And then it was kind of like the first day of school. Then I said to Gwen, now can I go out? And as soon as I got out, Bill, man, we were out just serving food to the elderly, man.
Right. Right.
We were doing 1,000 meals a week. Thank
Mm.
God for the Al Sharpton organization. They were receiving meals. Big shout out to Coogan's restaurant that went out of business, but
Yeah.
they gave
Shout out.
all, yeah,
Yes.
Peter, Dave Hunt
Yeah.
and Peter. They gave all their food to an organization, a senior organization uptown. We delivered it there, and for 2 months, they were giving us meals as well. They were preparing meals 3 times a week that we were giving those out. So the whole while during the COVID-19, it was about, I think I spent a day or two with Meals on Wheels because they needed a driver.
Right.
Just going out, Bill, because I'm of the mindset that if you don't do it and you're able to do it, then what are you really all about? You know,
Facts.
in the book of James, it says faith without works is dead. So that means if you believe something and you're trusting, but you just sit around and you don't do, and you have the ability to do, I'm trusting God every step of the way, man. I step out there, and this brings me back to 5-0. Like for them, they know in the 3-2, the 3, all of them. I mean, I sat down and I had a one-on-one with this police commissioner because something ticked me off uptown. Now, it wasn't just that an officer had ticked me off. It was something someone else did that ticked me off. And
Absolutely.
I felt that officer was not getting the benefit of the quality of work that he had put in. So in my conversation with the police commissioner, I said, by the way, because this is how I look at it, Bill. If we're going to be in our community and we want to point our fingers, then we can't be biased. If you're in my neighborhood and you acting ill, then we need to figure out how to get rid of you because you're a problem. First, we're going to talk to you. How can we do this? You want to hustle? That's not good. You want to blaze? That's not good. So at the back door, we're out here trying to clean our neighborhoods, like on the streets at 11 o'clock at night. And I mean, I'm just going to go in for a minute because I'm part of, it's like 50 of us, and we're clergy and imams, and we're part of the 32nd Precinct Council. And like I'm doing a 911. I got everybody on the Zoom on a Sunday afternoon, Bill. Oh, yeah, you know. I said, okay, give me your 911 number. So when I call you at 11 o'clock, when I call you at 10 o'clock, I need you to respond. And that's when the rioting was going on. It didn't happen in Harlem, thank God. But there were like 4 of us that were out. There was a lady, one clergy lady, and another pastor from Harlem, myself, and one of my people. But when I was trying to make those 911 calls, clergy wasn't showing up anywhere. Imams wasn't showing up anywhere. It was only the police. So when I say to an officer X, Y, and Z, I'm not beating them up because there's some great officers, men and women, that are doing crazy work. And they see me out there doing the work with them. But you're not going to put your foot on our neck. You're not going to be disrespectful to us and expect that that's accepted behavior. You come in, you get in a paycheck. I'm going to call you out on that. But while I'm calling you out, I'm going to call my man out for blazing. Yo, you can't blaze up in here. And y'all know what time it is, because if you don't stop him, he going to kill somebody, grandma or some little kid. So we have to be vigilant. We don't need more police as much as we need to understand how we're going to take care of ourselves with public safety. But we'll have that in a different conversation.
Exactly. And listen, everybody out there, this is Al Taylor. This is the Assemblyman, Reverend Al Taylor. We'll get to that, Reverend, in a minute. This is Real Talk Chronicles. If you like what you hear, please push the share button under what you're seeing right now. We are Facebook Live. We are YouTube Live. Listen, everybody who knows me from a promotional standpoint. There's different facets that you know me. And the hardest thing that I've ever had to sell is positivity. And this is what I'm trying to do right now in memorandum of my parents. This is Real Talk Chronicles. This is what I would do. Shout out to people that are chiming in. My man Tommy Guns, he was saying he remembers you. When you used to promote back in the day, that's about something about your past. Yeah. Tell about. Wait, let me see if I can pull it up right now. Tommy said, "Well, I remember Al Taylor when he was a promoter with the late great Calvin Ricketts from the Winners Palace in the '80s." They telling your business, baby. Go ahead, tell them about it. Talk about it.
Man, production. Man.
Exactly. Shout out to
my brother. Oh, did he take it back?
Shout out to Diane Walford. She said Tommy Sparkle Entertainment. Exactly. Dennis, Calvin, Bruce, and Al. She knows the history, people. That's what I'm saying. This is real. This is real Harlem right now. Everybody understand. This is Assemblyman Al Taylor. This is family. He's here. Let me tell you something. We're gonna get together. He's gonna have me. Wow. He's gonna help me bring on a lot of Benjamin, Mark. Mark is my man. Mark is my Facebook friend, but I haven't seen you, Mark. I ain't seen a like button in a while. I know you're busy. You're handling your business.
Let's
June,
I see you.
Yeah, definitely. So we're gonna do this. Darren Joseph, my brother, I appreciate you, man. I know you're working with me behind the scenes on some things. Darren says, why does law enforcement love the lawless man? Yeah, that's a good question, Al. What do you think? Why does law enforcement love the lawless man? And then hold on, I'm just going to say this. Darren also said, if Trump respected law enforcement, why does he constantly disrespect the FBI? Shout out to my man Junior Blake. You know, him and Copper Love. We on the sidelines. We keeping it. We talk about it. Shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you so much.
Wow.
There's so many of you in here chiming. I love the ghost watchers too. I know a lot of times you don't click in, and that's okay. I appreciate you. Shout out to my NYPD family. Listen, what I say about NYPD, don't you ever think that I'm not blue, but I'm just black first. And I just want you to always understand that. I rep blue, but it can never go against my culture and my people. Because the bottom line is I know because of my Trump card, I hate to use that word, when I get pulled over, my ID, I'm not going to get what the average Jane and John Doe gets. So the bottom line is, but Al was saying a lot of things, the Assemblyman was saying a lot of things too. We don't want to see the brothers on the corner blazing up, drinking Hennessy, leaving the bottles in the street, acting just like you have no common sense and acting with
Exactly.
no couth. But the one thing too is we want law enforcement to come in and do what they're supposed to do because that's the job that you chose to do. You took an
Absolutely.
oath. When I hear all these law enforcement officers talk about, oh, I put my life on the line, nobody tells you to take the test. That's what you did. I took the test. I can't give you accolades for taking something that you wanted. You took this job. Nobody said it was supposed to be a walk in the park.
Oh, for
We
sure.
know fire. That's like a fireman saying, "I don't want to go put out no fires. Let's knock it off." Really, you know what I'm saying? I'm a police officer. The shit gets serious. Sometimes I may get shot at. I don't want to get shot, but that's what it is. I signed up for that. So
Yeah.
if you're not built for this job, then don't take it. That's real talk. You know what I'm saying? And you all know, for those who know me, knows I was excellent at what I did. So that's why you can't challenge me and you will never question me because you know I always say this. I never try to be so take it to a point of being volatile, but you know, I don't play the disrespect game. So that's why, and you know, in the street, I was second to none in what I did, what I had to do. And probably right now, if I was working the way the city is, I might lose my job because the way I didn't touch anybody that didn't deserve to be touched, but you didn't disrespect Bill Foster when we was in the street.
Mhm.
And everybody knows that. So that's why I say when I was working, I rep blue, but I always was black first. I say all that to say this is Assemblyman Al Taylor. This is Bill Foster. This is Real Talk Chronicles. This is what we are doing, man. Everybody's out here. Shout out to DJ Hollywood is in the building. Al, please
DJ
continue with the love on
Hollywood.
your menu. Deborah Brown,
Oh,
shout out. Go ahead, June. Go ahead. Carlton TNT is in the building. Everybody, this
oh,
is what it is, man. Yvette Williams. Shout out to Diane Walford. Yo, everybody, shout out. This is Assemblyman Al Taylor. Give this man his shout out. Shout out to Karate E in the building.
okay.
Um, this is what it is, man. Everybody, if you got questions for the Assemblyman, please give them in. We are going to talk about reform. We're talking about things. Al, what one thing I want to say is that the powers that be are not talking to the Bill Fosters. They're not talking to the people that can say what I want to say to a Commissioner Shea. And you know what I'm saying? With all respect to Commissioner Shea, I feel he's a lame duck. He is in a situation that he will never win because right now, you know, he is working under administration that he's always going to be wrong and he can't be right, right? But when we talk about reform and not reform, I'm just talking about we talk about change in law enforcement. You're not talking to me. I don't know who they're talking to. So
Mhm.
I'm asking you right now in front of everybody, please, and going forward in the next administration, whomever that may be, and we'll talk about that later too. But like, let's make sure we can have an avenue for brothers or sisters, Latinos, even the white officers that can sit down and talk to the powers that be that can help make police officers better for the community. And
Yes.
listen, out there, everybody out there, I'm not saying police officers not do their job. Listen, if you're a police officer, you got to handle your business. But the bottom line is, police people don't sit on the corner for 12 hours all day and then say your police picking on me. Let's knock that off. Because even when I come home in Harlem, and I'm still in Harlem. When I walk down the street, I do not want to. Even though you're gonna give me my OG status, I do not want to walk down the street and have to go past 5 guys or 10 guys doing push-ups and pull-ups on scaffolding. The scaffoldings are not there for exercise. You know what I'm saying? I mean, am I wrong or right, Al? You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, I shout out to the people of color for being creative. We can, you give us a twig, we'll start a fire. But scaffoldings are not gymnastics. You know what I'm saying? And I just say all that to say, no disrespect to the brothers in the street, but the bottom line is, listen, man, come on. We all work for a better lifestyle.
Yes.
We live in the cities, and this is what we want. So, Al, you said as Assemblyman, you cover a lot of different avenues. Just tell people real quick, what are the things that Assemblymen are? We talked about housing, we talked about some other things. Just give people again what Assemblyman does. So, because I know there's a lot of people in here that are listening and chiming in, they need to understand what this is all about.
Well, let me give you this. And most legislators that I'm aware of don't do this. I want to be on the streets, Bill, as much as I can. So for like 40 days, we done Love Your Community, and what we did was every night, a team of us, some volunteers, and well, everybody was a volunteer. Nobody was paid to do it. And we'd be out from 8 o'clock at night to 11 o'clock at night. We started in the Polo Ground Wrangle houses, which is right across from the Rucker. And when we ended up in the Inwood section, because every night we go out for 3 hours a night, giving out water, giving out PPEs, giving out hand sanitizer, and just having conversation, voter registration cards, information, and reminding people to register for the census. But it also gives you an opportunity to engage your community at different levels. So, and you'll see different needs. So I have Washington Heights, Inwood, Hamilton, Harlem, and that just about covers. But every pocket could be a little bit different. So when I'm on 152 and 8th Avenue, it looks different at 177th in Fort Washington and Broadway. But there's still
Absolutely.
young people that are out there. And the idea is so that I don't want anybody to think that we're not cognizant of what's going on around us. Some young people need that assistance. They need an advantage to help them do something. So rather than putting more money into policing, not defunding, but equal the same amount of money that you're doing for after school programs. One of the things that we did at 3 o'clock.
Hold on, Al. While you're talking to Al, what happened to the after school programs that you and I grew up in? Where did that money go?
On, baby.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Like you put, I think it was $1 or 50 cents, and you got an after school card, and the school was open from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. You could do recreational, you could do some tutorial stuff, but it was there, and your parent knew where you were across the street. So now you take that away. You take away a couple other different types of programs. They had Mr. Chips, I think it was Mr. Chips, that had on 145th Street. I was a part of Reality House. I was part of How You Act Cadet Corps. So there were different things that you can go into, and it was there. Now the monies are directed toward housing an inmate. So whatever it costs to put somebody, let me give you an example. The state assembly, we don't have discretionary funds. And discretionary funds says, well, here is Brother Bill Foster. He runs an after school program. You know what? Let me write him a check for $15,000, because with $15,000, you can keep 20 kids off the street for a whole year with the different things that you need, because you know how to shake a dollar and make it work. But we don't have that opportunity to give you that kind of money. So in the city council, they can do some things like that, but there are not enough things that are out there that we can put our young people and have them go to. So part of it is, and once you get arrested, like the first time I got arrested when I came home, I thought I was the man. First, I'm going to be honest. The first night I got arrested and they told me, you're not going home, I was in the 30th precinct. And I remember my mother coming up to that station about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I had beef with some people off of Hamilton Place, and I'm in there, me and my man, he was in another cell, and all I could think, Bill, was my mother's gonna kill me, right? And
Exactly.
Bill, I was so happy when they said he can't go home. I don't know where I was going, but I knew if my mother had taken me home that night, she was gonna kill me at 16. That was my
Yo,
real fear.
exactly.
That was my
Exactly.
uncle. And so the next day, I find myself at the Tombs. I come out like 11 o'clock at night. I was one of the last people to be seen before that bus went to Rikers. That's all I know. The bus leaves at midnight or something like that. I never made it. But when I came home, all the guys on the block was like, yo, you held that down real good. Da da da. So now, with my stupid self, I'm thinking I'm that guy. School, I don't need school. I'm the coolest dude in the neighborhood. I'm getting stupid props. And so we still have that mentality out there, and we have to go in and break that up. We have to bring all our resources, all our experiences, and stop talking about what it used to be and say, well, what am I doing to change that narrative? Some of them are going to be a little harder to deal with than others, but nonetheless, we have to say, you know what? The cops are going to have a certain role, but they can only go where we allow them to go. If we're out there saying, you know what, like I knew my mother gonna whoop my butt because she cursed the cop out. I could hear her. I was in the cell and she was cussing that cop out. Like, why
Yeah.
did you call me up here if you knew I couldn't take him home? I'm
Yeah.
like, I was so happy they said I wasn't. I didn't know where I was going, Bill, but
Because
I
you
knew
know
I
what's so
wasn't
funny?
going.
We come from an era where the fact that we embarrassed our parents,
Woo!
we knew that was an automatic
Beat
A
down,
whipping.
beat
You
down.
knew you was gonna get torn up from the sun up to the sun down.
Every time she
And,
look at you.
and you know, let me ask you a question. A lot of people don't know uh, Al Taylor is a reverend. And I want to ask you from a spiritual standpoint, but I want to ask you from, of course, a black man growing up in our era. They took away a lot of us reprimanding our children. I
Yeah.
feel that was the biggest mistake. I felt that that was the avenue that certain powers that be gave us the reason to let our children run wild. And now they want to now put medicine behind our names,
Mm.
right? And because when you and I was growing up, when we was acting, la, 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 okay, when they said, be quiet, Al, be quiet, Bill. La, 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 la. I said, be quiet now. La, la, la. Pip, pop, 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 pip.
That's it.
Because we all had ADD and all that. You know? but we didn't have. But you know what? We all had Medeas in the village that
Right.
raised us. I don't see that now. And let me ask you a question. I want you to elaborate on that. And what's your thoughts and take from a black man, from a reverend man, from an assemblyman? And let's talk about that. And as you talk, I'm just going to step to the left, to the right for 1 second.
I can't hear you.
I said I'm going to step to the right for 1 second, but I'm listening. But let the
Oh,
community know what you're saying. So go ahead, keep talking.
oh, absolutely. I think for me, without question, your mother would give you that look, or your grandmother give you that look. And when they say don't touch nothing, don't look at that, then that's what you did. That's missing in our communities. There are these new rules and regulations that says you can't chastise your child, but yet they can be shot down in the street. I would rather run the risk of saying to my child, or at the time, I'm going to discipline if necessary, but I'd rather do that than to have my child shot down, beat down in a precinct or somewhere else because someone else didn't like their behavior. So it's important that we spend time working with our kids, understanding. And I'm not suggesting that we, I'm telling you, I'm not suggesting we beat the heck out of our kids. That's not what I'm saying here. But I think we ought to be able to do discipline. And when we take that away, it creates a different narrative. And some people do not necessarily need to be beat, but you have to spend time to understand what that child or that individual is going through. You have to do an assessment. When I was growing up, the assessment was, I'm going to whoop your butt. That was the answer to everything. I'm going to whoop your butt. Didn't I tell you? And the favorite one was, get in there, take them clothes off. I'm going to wear you out. And my grandmother said, when I get you, I'm going to get you for old and for new. And as a pastor, you know, let me again, as Bill would say, real talk here. There are constituents, there are residents in the community that are quick to bring me their child, and they say he or she is so bad. Let me tell you what that person did, and I will engage that young person and have conversation with them. But they're not the problem. It's the mother. The mother is buck wild, or the father is buck wild, or it's just crazy mayhem. And what do you expect this child to be? Like, I had someone say to me, my child has a gun. And I'm outside of the church and I'm looking like, oh man, do I need this today? And I said, are you sure? They said, yeah. I said, well, did you call the cops? She said, no, I didn't want to call the cops because I didn't want to have no accident. I said, okay, but you're certain? She said, yeah. So they stop another guy on the street, and the guy said, well, he's bad. He's going to get it anyway. So this is a wake up call. I'm like, that's not the answer. So I said, come on. I go with this person. I walk 5 flights upstairs. On the 4th floor, I say, okay, you stay here because I already know you are an agitator. It's your son, but you agitate situations.
Absolutely.
You stay right here. And they said, well, he ain't going to open the door for you. I'm like, didn't I ask you to be quiet? Just stay down there and be quiet. I knock on the door, and the kid opens the peephole. He looked, hey, Rev Al, what's going on? I said, your mother said you have a gun. I'm coming in. You got a gun? No, no. Then why do you think she has a gun? You have a gun. He said, well, this is what I did because she was screaming at me. She was telling me this, calling me out of my name, and all stuff like that. Now, we're talking about a 15-year-old kid. I said,
Ain't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah. But my thing was, I could not come home and go to sleep, Bill, wondering if he did or he didn't, or if she would call the cops, how much consideration would have been given to this young man under the circumstances that the mother's saying one thing. He didn't have one. So I just took the kid out to get him something to eat, and we're starting to build a relationship where I want to see what else that's out there because he's in a situation that's not good for him.
So Al, let me ask you a question. Like, you're a unique individual because you get out there and you march, you do all kind of things. You feed the community. You are so active. You know what makes you do the things that you do? Is it because you're a Harlem Night? First and foremost, let me just say shout out to everybody that's watching. Harriet, Kev, Tommy, just um, everybody that's out there. Deborah Brown, Chris Thomas. I see you all. This is Assemblyman Al Taylor. I am Bill Forster. This is Real Talk Chronicles. There's a lot of shows out here, but ain't nobody keeping it 100 like this. I might be 110, to be honest with you. So you know what I'm saying? Yeah, 120, 120. Because let me tell you something. I ask the people the questions that need to be asked. I don't sit here and try to tell you something that is not factual. I I try to keep it 100 with you because the bottom line is it's organic and this is what it is. So, and the first thing Al said to me today before we came on, he said, "Yo, B, when you take it, is I'm going with you," and that's right. Is that real talk, right, Al? That's what you
Real
told me.
talk, baby.
Wherever you take it, that's
Hey,
where we're going.
listen, I don't have a pre-script, and da. There's no questions in advance. So whatever.
And that's one thing about real talk. We don't script. I don't. When people start asking me what we talking about, we talking. You just get on the show. How about that? That's what you do. You know, just come on with your verbs and adjectives and just come to speak. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Cliff Bars, my neighbor. I see you, Saida, in the building. There's so many people, Al, later on in your leisure. I know it's hard for you to do that, to come back. You might have to chime in and shout out to a lot of these people. But what makes you do the things you do? What makes you stay focused out there in the community? What makes you take these people on these walks and everything? I think, I remember one time you was like, yo, I said, Al, let's do something. You was like, I can't. I'm about to walk to Albany or Cleveland or somewhere. I was like, yo,
it was
I want to hang with you, but I'm not walking.
it was, hey, listen, Bill. It was New York to Chicago, 780 miles. It was called It's a Love Thing. And yeah. I got the idea because we've been doing prayer walks. We started in Bronx River. Big shout out to Bronx River Housing. In 2012, we were doing prayer walks over there. And then in 2000, no, it was before that. It was 2006, we were over there. 2008, we launched in the Polo Ground. And we had up to like 9 locations, Polo Grounds, Wrangell houses, Harlem River, St. Nick House, Grant, Manhattanville, Edgemere, and Far Rockaway. We had one in Dykeman, and we had one up on the hill here on St. Nick. So there were 9 locations where men get together Thursday morning and walk and pray for their community and just engage the people that live there, going to work, coming in, living on the streets, whatever the issue is, just engaging them. And we saw that there was a reduction in crime. But that information actually came to us by way of NYPD when former police commissioner Ray Kelly reached out to me. He said, "Hi, this is Ray." I'm like, "Okay." I didn't know who the heck he was. And I heard that you guys are doing prayer walks. I'm like, "Okay." And then he said, "Okay, I want to sit with you." I'm saying, "All right, well, come on." And I said, "Who's this again?" He said, "Ray." Well, all right. Then he said, "Ray Kelly." I said, "Oh, shoot, Commissioner Kelly? He's calling me." And so I had a sit down with him at my church about a month or so later. But he was telling me that statistically, what we were doing, crime was dropping. And it wasn't because we were being over policed or anything. It was that people were taking responsibility to be engaging in their communities and being that extra set of eyes, being that grandma that we had, being that mama that we had, or that uncle. And those things can start to change your community. That's what public safety is really about, knowing your neighbors, knowing what's going on. And then if there's something that needs to be handled, then you can call a cop, but you don't need a cop for a mental illness unless the guy's busting and blazing. So at the end of the day, those are the type of things. So I saw the change there and I said, what would happen if I took this to Chicago? I want to walk from New York City to Chicago, 780 miles. And people are good to give you unsolicited information. They'll tell you about what you can do. I didn't ask you for that. I didn't even ask you for anything. I said, I'm going to do it. It doesn't cost you anything. Oh, well, you've never done that. What's your MO? What's your qualifications? I said, man, I'm trusting God. I'm going to walk. I walked throughout New York City. I started to walk 8 miles a day, 12 miles a day. And then every other day I was doing 16 miles after work and before work. So I said, if I can get in 18 hours before the day is over and I worked an 8-hour job and all I have is 8 hours to go, I can do this. And God made it happen, man. My wife was so supportive. We went from New York City to Chicago, ended up on the south side of Chicago, Michigan Avenue. Super shout out to the brothers out there. They're trying to get up out of there. But you know what? It's going to be a conversation. Guns happen, people die, but you can't believe that's your final destination. You got to get involved. James Brown said, get involved, get into it. And we sitting around talking about the good old days. Get off your keises and do something. If you're not doing anything, then you're part of the problem. We have to change the narrative. Don't tell me what it was like on your block, who was rocking what. But if you're not doing anything, you're part of the problem. I'm calling you out straight up. We got to do this together. You may say it's not your job. Jeremiah 29. I'm going to flip the red card right here.
No, go ahead. Go get it, baby. Get him.
Jeremiah 29 says, seek the peace of the city, because if the city prospers, so shall you. Well, what's the backdrop on that? Jeremiah was a prophet, but he was telling the people of God, God's chosen people, you're going into slavery. You're going to be taken into captivity, but I want you to prosper while you're there, because I'm still going to hold you down. And I'm saying, no matter whatever's going on in our life, God is going to hold us down. And now you may say, well, I'm not a Christian. But if you have faith, some type of faith, what does it orientate you to do? Is it just something on your shelf? Is it real? Can you feel it? Are you doing something with it? Are you just chilling? I'm not preaching. I'm just saying, suppose you stepped out on something. Come on back in now.
Well, no. This is your show, so you can preach tonight. Everybody out here, this is Real Talk Chronicles. Oh, I have Assemblyman Al Taylor. He's family to me, so I apologize for calling him Al. You can call him Al. You know what I'm saying? I know, but I'm just saying. But let me tell you something. A lot of times people lose sight of people titles, and you deserve it, because somebody else might say, "Oh, you calling me so and so." But the bottom line is, this is family, so that's why I am comfortable with calling that.
Man. Bless you. And at the end of the day, Bill, I look like this, and people wig out. I'll be like, listen. God has allowed me to get this far in life after I had to throw my life away. I forgot the part about smoking the dust and going crazy. But I did those things and I'm here. I'm like, okay, why am I so much different from the other person that died at 14 and 15 and 16? I'm not. It's by his grace. So for me, I love Harlem. And I know, Bill, it was by the grace of God that I got out of smoking dust, that I made it through and got into the military. So what am I doing with what I've been afforded? So that's what
Absolutely.
drives me. It has to be intrinsic. It has to be something that you know that if you don't do it, you're wasting your talent. So I just go. I don't even think about it. When I see 5 on the block, they can say anything they want, but they will see me at midnight. They'll see me at noonday. I'm on the block. And the job doesn't pay for this. And I tell people, and this is to the point about the title, listen, they can have this title. I was doing this before I got elected. So I'll still be doing this because I care about my community.
Absolutely. Let me tell you something. I know firsthand out there, anybody out there that's listening, Al had me when he was running for reelect. He was out there, we was out there on the corners passing out flyers. And then Al was like, yo, all right, we're gonna do the late night. No, we're not gonna Al, you're gonna do that. But like, yo, I'm not gonna be out here 2 hours in the morning. I just got married. Malik ain't co-signing that shit right now.
You get a newlywed pass. You got a newlywed pass.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. Al, Ruben Diaz, we was all out there on the corners
Oh my man!
passing out
Shout
those
out to
flyers to get
Borough
my man
President Ruben
reelected.
Diaz.
Shout out to Kevin Graves, Pastor Kevin Graves in the building, my man. I appreciate you, Kevin.
Bless you,
Always, it's
Pastor.
always a pleasure. Yeah, he's a good brother. I'm going to try to read some of the comments right now, but this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. I have Assemblyman Al Taylor in the building. We are keeping it real. This is Real Talk. This is what we do. You have questions for the Assemblyman, please ask them. You know, this is not too many times when we can talk about things like this. I want to ask you a question. What do you think about this upcoming election?
Which one? The presidential?
Yeah, let's talk. We'll go
Oh.
presidential. We'll come back down to the city. We're not with the city, but
On the
this
next
presidential.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
The presidential. Hey, folks, vote. Go out and vote. Starting October 24th in New York City, there are 9 days that you can vote. Starting October 24th, that's this Saturday, you can vote. If you don't know where and you're in New York City, go to NYCBOE, New York City Board of Elections. They'll tell you what the sites are in your community. If you're in New York State, you can go to New York State Board of Elections and they'll tell you where you're at. If you have or desire to request the absentee ballot, please request that ballot soon. October 27th is the last day to request an absentee ballot. The absentee ballot can be returned at any poll site in New York City if you are a New York City resident. You don't have to stand on the line. But when you get that ballot and you fill it out, look at both sides. And then when you put it in an envelope and you seal the envelope, make sure you sign it and date it. When you sign it and date it, it's just like you signed in at a polling site. Now, also, if you've already gotten an absentee ballot and you've already sent it back and you're wondering if they got counted, you can go to the poll site where you normally vote and vote. And what they'll do is there's time between opening the ballot, the paper ballot. They're going to see that you went into a polling site and voted, and they'll get rid of the paper ballot. But I'm telling everybody, don't put that stuff in the mail if you don't have to. Our sisters and brothers, our grandparents, our ancestors did a lot of walking to make sure that they could get to a polling site and vote. I don't care how long it is. Bring your Sunday best and behave as best you know how and wait to vote. Wait to vote. It does matter. Wait until you vote. Do not leave without voting. If you are an eligible voter, please go and vote. It's time to send that dude packing. I heard him say that he may leave America if he does not win. I think that's a good idea because his butt going to jail if he don't.
Exactly. Bye, Felicia. Exactly. He need to get out of here
Bye,
because let me tell you something. Bye, Orange Man. Because let me tell you something. I've never, and I tell people all the time. This to me, it has nothing to do with Democrats, Republicans. What it has to do is first and foremost is just having a certain respect for the Oval Office. You are the president of the United States. You have made a mockery of your position, and I'll say it in his face. He got Secret Service now, so I can't say too much. But you know what I'm saying, without getting hemmed up or beat up. But the bottom line is, he has made a mockery of this. I have a problem when people talk about they support him, and then you still try to have like a conscious conversation, or and you want to talk politics because he's not politics. You know, you want to talk about Joe. You want to talk about Joe. You want to call him Creepy Joe because he he is the most disrespectful person that's ever been in office. And I ask people all the time. I ask my law enforcement people, what has he done for you? I ask my Hispanic people that vote for him. Shout out to my Hispanic people that are woke. You know what I'm saying? What has he done for the Latin community? If anything, I know he's building up walls and trying to keep you behind things. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Absolutely. There, I mean, when we look at the demographics, so Florida has a heavy Cuban migration, and he's going to capitalize on a lot of those votes typically. But I think he's in trouble this time. I think he's in trouble, and he's not going to be able to pull off Florida. I'm hoping that he doesn't. But at the very most, brother Bill, he's a disgrace. He's a disgrace.
Absolutely.
I mean, from the moment he started running, when he announced in 2016, he made a mockery out of everybody: gay, straight, black, paraplegic, and the media gave him a free ride. They just showed, they follow him everywhere. It's like a bad kid that you never discipline, and so everywhere he goes, what he did at home was cute. Now he's a grown man and doing that stuff. It's not cute anymore. But now you've given him the full platform. He didn't have to spend any campaign money when he ran in 2016. He was
Not at
not
all.
held accountable. Everybody kept saying, "Oh, how outrageous can he get every time? More and more and more, Bill." And now he's at a point where he is a disgrace. We do not have the national respect that we had before he went in. So he's totally disrespected the office. And I don't care who you want to vote for. I'm just let me go somewhere with this one real quick.
Go ahead.
There are some evangelical preachers that have not said a word. That have these mega platforms, and they are condoning everything that he said. And I know enough scripture that says that we are to love one another, right? And you can't necessarily say abortion or right to life is big enough of an issue that you excuse everything else that somebody is doing. This guy has criminal behavior. He's lying. He's made a mockery out of this country. He is disrespectful. He is incite. If I did what he did, your boys would come
Oh
with
my
cuffs on
God.
me. Like, I would be so far down in a cell, they would have to pump daylight to me. How in the name of God, 10 days after a woman was almost murdered and they captured 13 people, he goes back and says the governor of Michigan needs to be in jail. I mean, that's insightfulness. And the very fact that they went into Brooklyn and arrested this guy, one of the rabbis that's running, he's not a rabbi. They arrested him for inciting a riot, which basically said that he was in the streets and he was responsible for having people beat up a reporter. So if he's being held accountable for that, then why is the president not being held accountable for having those vile words that he said against that woman in Michigan, the governor, and 13, 14 people are arrested, and they may be arresting more, but they haven't even thought about bringing him up on charges.
Listen, it's disgusting. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in and watching. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm with Assemblyman Al Taylor out of Harlem. Al, let them know real quick. I'm gonna segue into something else, but let them know your district, which you cover again.
Hi, good evening. I am Reverend Al Taylor, Assemblyman for the 71st Assembly District. I have Harlem, Washington Heights, Inwood, and Hamilton Heights. So I start at 140th and Riverside Drive, and I go all the way up to Dykeman. If you're on that side, and from Riverside over to Amsterdam. And then when you go over to Lenox Avenue, I have 142nd Street, right where that fire started 2 years ago, where the mother and three kids passed. My
Yeah.
building, my district starts right there, and I go Polo Ground, Wrangle Houses. I don't have Drew, but I have Polo
Okay.
Ground and Wrangle Houses.
Okay.
And here I am.
And thanks to everybody. This is Assemblyman Al Taylor. So he is doing what he has to do. This is Real Talk Chronicles, and I'm doing what we have to do. And together we have culminated together to bring you with the
Yes.
best thing we can do. It's so funny. Um, I'm going to ask you a question, but I'm going to say my feelings first. Can do like I want to ask you your take on Black Lives Matter. I personally tell my people, like my former law enforcement people, and I tell people, and I hate to see, and it kills me when I see people of color talk against Black Lives Matter. Ah, my God, it destroys me. And then you may do it too, but it's all right because I don't know what your feelings is right now. But I'm just saying what I feel. The bottom line is what I've learned in my life is that when anybody of color speaks up, people call them terrorists. They talk about them, and they say they're not anything for people. I hear people, former law enforcement. I hear other people, even people, black, white. They say, "Oh, I know Antifa and other people are trying to infiltrate them and agitators."
Right.
And but Black Lives Matter is no good. So wait a minute.
Wow.
You sit here and you denounce Black Lives Matter because they're speaking out. You denounce Martin, you denounce Malcolm, you denounce the Black Panthers, you talked about Reverend Al, you talked about everything, and they're probably going to talk about you and me in a few minutes, and it's all right. But I
Hey,
say all that to say, like, I support the movement because anybody that's doing something for people of color, brown people, blacks and Latin people, because to me, we're one. So I don't want anybody out there to think I'm ever separating anything. When I say people of color, I'm talking about blacks and brown, Latins and blacks, whomever. If you know your history, then I'm talking to you and I'm talking
yeah,
about you. So I personally don't understand why people denounce him. What's your take on the Black Lives Matter movement?
I support 1,000%. Exactly. Um, I think I was really when I first saw them surface, I was like, oh, this is good. This is a new era.
Right.
I have mad respect for Reverend Al Sharpton. But what I saw happening was there was a new arrival. There was, if we look at the civil rights, there were a lot of college students involved. There were young people, and that
Mm-hmm.
movement started to grow. You had a Dr. King out there, you had other people, but that movement was swelling up. And when I saw this, I was like, yo, this is deep. This is good because if you would, um, I would say the baton was being passed to the next generation. Now think about it. When they started, look at it like this. And I'm just thinking about this. If they weren't engaging 2016, 2015, where would we be today with the death of Miss Taylor, the death of um, Mr. Floyd, and a few others? So it like there was already a platform ready to launch.
Yes.
Their relevance helped to what I want to say, help to push it out further. The organization, everything was in place for such a time as now. So I
Yes.
can't see why people. That's not true. People are ignorant. They say and think all kind of things.
Yes.
Some people don't even believe they black, but they is. Ask OJ because he didn't think he was black until he got caught up in that nonsense. And
Yeah.
then even when he
Paintings.
was
Exactly.
I'm just saying. So let me come back over here and get out of other people's stuff. But at the end of the day, I have mad respect for Black Lives Matter and all that they're doing. What I had a problem with were those people that were out there throwing paint and covering up the work that people had sacrificed. If you don't agree with it, then that's your business. I don't believe that NYPD needs anybody that look like me or you to help drive home their point. And
Exactly.
whether you are family, your sons, your kids are part of law enforcement, I get it. I respect that. But this is a matter of respect that you would have the audacity to come along and throw black paint all over the place and say, well, this is, and if you want to call me out on that, come on, get me. You know where I'm at. My
No,
number is
call
202.
both of us out because the bottom
Yeah.
line is, let me tell you something. I always feel, and I there's always somebody doing some coonery that's coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm being nice because it's my show and I don't want to get too, and then your reverence. I don't want to say too much, but we behind the scenes. I'll tell you in your face. You're out there, people shucking and jiving, and trying to be super woke or denouncing. It's just like right now, people want to denounce Kamala Harris. You want to talk about what she did as a prosecutor. You want to talk about Joe, but you know what? You're comfortable right now with what you got in office. I'm disgusted, really. Let me tell you something. I probably have lost more co-workers, which is all right because if you weren't really my friend anyway, it doesn't make a
Word,
difference.
son, I was about to say they wasn't down anyway.
And it's okay because your ideology doesn't suit mine. And I've lost so many different coworkers tell me, "Oh, Bill, you changed." Well, wait a minute, because we had a beer at a retirement party, or we saw each other at work and we said good morning. And you didn't know me just because we wore the blue doesn't mean, because the bottom line is there's light blue and there's dark blue, and people need to understand out there, and that's why I do what I do and I speak up. And shout out to NYPD. This is no disrespect to NYPD. The job is beautiful. It's the people that F it up. See, that's real
Oh,
talk.
word.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, and,
That's
and,
real.
and,
Yeah,
and let's be 1,000% up in here. We do not have to preference how we feel before we say it, because they will never say, well, Bill, excuse me for no, you need to know my work speaks for itself. And if you got your foot on my neck, my neighbor's neck, I'm gonna bring you out on that. So I don't have to tell
absolutely.
you da da da. It is what it is, because we
Absolutely.
are grown behind people just like you are, and you will come out of your neck with something stupid and or do something foolish. Come on. I've seen on YouTube and some of these other platforms where you will see a white officer with a white
Person that
suspect
yeah,
with a
exactly.
gun, and let's talk about it. The guy, the kid from that killed in Charleston, he killed 9 people in a church. They treated him like a hero. They didn't pull their guns out. They don't. And so when you look at that narrative and say we have a lot to be concerned about and skeptic about, I don't have to say, well, let me preference this by saying, I like the good old boy. I'm like, yo, hear my heart, son. Cut it out. Because what they're saying to us, they don't say, well, how I really think about you. Or you watch out, they tell you one of my friends, I went to school with a black person. When I was in the military, I was stationed in Germany. And the guys that I rode in patrol cars with, we lived in the same barrack. They would not open their mouth unless they were in a patrol car with me. And we were working infantry. And at that point, they want to be your boy because you know who's running infantry. All of us was in infantry.
Exactly.
And they want to be your boy then. But other than that, I would be in a patrol car with somebody for 8 hours that I see in my barracks that don't speak to me. So I understand the mentality.
Al, I've worked in a building 500 strong and walked down and the white guy didn't even speak to me. There isn't anybody in here but just you and me. And I'm talking about law enforcement. This is just law
Yeah.
enforcement, and you don't speak to me. But this is all right with you. But I'm now you're my brother in blue. You don't even speak to me. F you, dude. Really? This is what everybody. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Foster. We talking about something about to get me hot.
No, you're hot.
Word, get me hot. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna
Yeah.
need a libation later on. And everybody, we got Assemblyman Al Taylor in the
They got
building.
that
My
water,
brother
baby.
Al in the building. Shout out to his lovely family. Shout out to my wife Malika Foster
Yes,
on the
yes.
sides doing what
Your
she got to
beautiful
do.
wife.
Listen, yes. Um, let's talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about too. But let's we covered politics. That's what it is all about. We talked about um uh Kamala Harris. We talked about. I had to check a dude one time, Al. He was on a dude's post, a color, and he asked him, "What did He asked us. He put it out there in a universe. He said, "What do you think about Kamala being you know vice president?" White boy comes out of nowhere talking about. He talks about Joe Biden, and then he gonna call her bitch. So then I'm like, yo, as we have dialogue, I had to come at dude later and I said, you're computer comfortable. So he's like, I'm not computer comfortable because he says, what I'll say to you, I'll say, what I said here, I'll say to your face. I said, no, 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 you won't do that. You're not, now you're delusional. You know what I'm saying? Now, whatever you're drinking, that Paps, that Bud Light, that got you off the charts right now. But I said, you're computer comfortable again. I said, because you're on a man of color's post talking about a woman of color, and you're talking about a woman of color to a man of color. Now you're computer comfortable. And I tell people all the time, I think 45 has just fueled the fire for those who are so disrespectful, and he has made some people feel so comfortable to come out their face. And like you said, we've seen white officers treat white people totally different, and you and I, we could talk about that tonight too. But
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, white people are feeling so comfortable and saying what they want to say. Like, yo, you're not coming to certain parts of the city, Chicago, New York, Philly, wherever you are, and say what you want to say and not get handled. And then don't call people of color violent. I'm talking about black, brown, Latins. We're not having that. You know what I'm saying? We're not having all that funny mouth game. That's not. We're not having
Oh
that.
man.
So people out there understand. I was on the post today talking to a former law enforcement guy, and he was talking about it. And it's so funny. They wanted to talk about what Trump did for people of color or HBCU schools. Listen, he ain't do anything. Listen, you know, Trump said, what did he say? He said, "Yo, vote for me. What do you have to lose? I did just more for the blacks than I did for Lincolns. Oh yeah, okay. And but there's the people out there. Shout out to everybody that's watching. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I see you, Dwayne Montgomery, Calvin Williams. Shout out to my
Dwayne.
NYPD family. Yeah, Yvette Williams. Kevin Graves is on the move. Rashid Alam. Shout out to all of you for being here. Appreciate you. I got Assemblyman Al Taylor. This is one of a few times that you are able to reach out and talk to this brother and kick it with him and say what you need to say. It is what it is. I saw you, Malibu, in the building. Um, Shout out to the law enforcement people out there. Please be safe. Nobody's trying to really tell you that law enforcement is not doing the things. We just want people of color to be safe out there. People, please. This is Real Talk Chronicles. That's building. That's it. You got to turn that down, right?
Got you,
Um,
baby.
Al,
Yes.
let's talk about voting and the post office. What do you think he's doing with a mockery of turning on uh mail-in ballots or just like voting in advance? What is he doing from a political standpoint with that?
Are you talking about the president?
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna call him that, but I mean, at 45, that's what he is. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, I always try to see the positive in everything. And one of the things, and I heard you make reference to it a little while ago, um, being wide woke. And this is a wake up call for many people that did not go out and vote last presidential election.
Right, right, right,
This is a
right.
wake up call for people that don't typically get engaged in the political process. So I think number 45 um, has helped a lot of us to remember we still have a long way to go. Because remember, his whole thing in 2016 was let's make America great again. And I remember watching some of the different posts that would come up with respect to make America great again. Um, our narrative, when I say ours, black and brown folks, was showing civic engagement, the things that happened with the demonstration and the protest, the dogs and the water hoses and all of that. That wasn't great for us. And so we were
Exactly.
saying, is that what you want? And I don't think anybody, at least in my circle, could fathom that that's what that man was literally trying to do. And he has raised the level of hatred. The number of groups that are out there are starting to come back to life. We don't need the Klan. We got what's that? We got the what's those? The Pretty Boys,
Yeah, yeah. The Proud Boys,
Proud
Clown Boys.
Boys.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so all of that's going on, and he's feeding that narrative. So I think he has. We can thank him for having us to wake up because too many people were sleeping with the idea that they had arrived and this is this and that's that, and they stayed home. And had they come out, we would have taken them down, and this wouldn't have happened. I'm not saying the other one would have been that much greater, but we would not probably have been at the point where people hate each other. So I think he's driven up the. He knows how to, whether he knows it or not, but he's gotten more people engaged in the political process. More people are voting. More people are registered to vote. And I want to say this to each one of us that are listening right now. I already know you guys know it, but this is more than a one and done. Let's think the worst case scenario. What happens if he wins? What are you going to be doing? And What are you willing to put on the table to help keep us fortified and ready to fight off everything that he's coming at us with? I can't remember who said it, but there was a writer, and it said, when they came for this group, you did nothing. When they came for that group, you did nothing. So who's going to be around when they come for you if you're not engaged in this? I think we should make sure, and I love to share this with everyone, is from the time you were born to the time you die, your life is legislated. People are making decisions about your life. Why don't you join the process? Get registered, get involved. It's your civic responsibility to be a part of it. And people say, well, I'm a Christian, so I don't engage. I can carry you there too. If you look in the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah, not only did he rebuild Jerusalem, but he became the governor. And if you look at Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his brothers, he ended up becoming like the prime minister of Egypt, and he was there during the famine that helped feed Israel to take them over. So there is no real distinction between government and God. God is always in the mix. So, and people say, well, how can you be a reverend in that? I don't know. I've never been one, and now I'm the other one. And it's service. It's all about service. So I'm not telling you what your faith should orient you to do, but if you're not engaging in doing something with your faith, toss it up to look at it and say, what is it? What is it? Brother Bill, you got this platform, you got people thinking, you're bringing people in, we're engaging the thought process, but it comes a time, and let me ask people to do this. On election day, you can volunteer, come by my campaign headquarters, and I don't know what we're going to do, but somebody may call and say, you got to cheer for an old lady. You got to cheer for an old man. Somebody may need a bottle of water. What are we doing to undergird our community? This is going to be a long process. We want to just make sure that, I went to the poll and it was just so long. You know what? If it takes you 8 hours, you've done crazier things for 8 hours. If you're able to endure it and you have the time, cast that vote. Help somebody else cast that vote. Maybe your grandmother or your auntie or your neighbor wants you to take their ballot downstairs and put it into the ballot box at the election place because they don't want it to go in the mailbox. Make yourself available. Have a plan on election day to get at least 3 to 5 people to vote or help them. And if you don't know what else to do, come on and holler at me. Come on by my campaign headquarters. We got plenty of space. Bring water. Right?
Tell them where the campaign headquarters are, Al.
It's 2542 7th Avenue.
Exactly.
That's
Everybody,
148, 147th, and 7th Avenue. Just come on. I'm going to be in there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll hit the streets at 5:30 because I want to check all the poll sites, make sure they're up, operational, and everything. New York is going to win it for the Biden ticket, but people are going to need a lot of help along the way, and they're going to need cool heads. We got a couple of, I forgot to tell you this, Brother Bill. If starting October 24th, in the Harlem State Office building, if you have lost the opportunity to vote, let's say you go in and you mess up the paper, whatever, and they say, we can't give you another one, you can go, and I can get that information to you too. They're not in the chat. I can get that information. But there is a judge that will be at the Harlem State Office building, and they're up here in case you didn't get your vote or you weren't able to vote for whatever reason. Contact them. They'll give you the documentation. The approval is like a little hearing, and you can go back to that place and vote. So
that's it. And whatever information. And let me tell you something. If Al tell you he's going to be somewhere on time, he will be there. He had me meet him at the church one day at 8 o'clock, and he was already there waiting. But listen, Al, let me ask you a question too. Like, Florida has done something remarkable, but then I see they tried to throw the monkey wrench at him. The former felons being able to vote, but now all of a sudden they're trying to hit them with you have to pay your past dues or whatever the situation is. It was whack. So I hope a lot of people, athletes and artists, are coming together and speaking out and paying that. How do you feel? Because what is it? If you know, I don't know personally, don't know. What kind of regulations for felons in New York City, and what do you feel about that? I employ all people that can vote to get out there and vote. But what do you feel about if you know what the rules or regulations are for anybody that has been incarcerated felons
Yes.
Hey, go ahead.
If you if I'm sorry, Bill. If you have if you were on probation, I'm sorry, if you were on parole and you're off parole, you can vote
Mhm.
in New York State. If you're off probation in New York, I'm sorry, probation. If you're off parole in New York State, you can vote. Period. I
Okay,
think it's a
excellent.
wonderful idea. You paid your debt to society. You are
Yes.
entitled to vote.
So let me ask you a question. Somebody said repeat. Yvette Williams. What do you want Al to repeat? Uh, the Assemblyman to repeat. Al, whenever you get a chance in your leisure, you and Gwen, y'all chilling around, go back and kind of it might take you a few days to comment and reply to all the people that are in here chiming in for you. Everybody, this is Bill Forster. This is Real Talk Chronicles. This is Facebook Live. This is YouTube Live. We are with Assemblyman Al Taylor, and he has given us his time to come and talk with us. I'm asking Al in front of all of you to bring Mark Levine on here, bring Benjamin Bratt on here, so we can sit down and we can just have some real politics, what's going on in New York City, and we can also talk about the politics before the election day. We are countdown. Please get out and vote. Knock it off with the nonsense. Get out there. Let me tell you something. I'm
Yes.
telling you who I'm casting my vote for. I have no problems. You would know I am anti 45. I do not. This is not even about Republicans and Democrats. This is just about right now. I just think he has disrespected the whole Oval Office. He hasn't done anything for me. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, yeah, financially, I am in a good place, absolutely. But the bottom line is, it has nothing to do with the people of color and my people that need. Let me tell you something. What happened to that wall? How's that going for your guys? Yeah, I don't know about that. You know, what about this man and his taxes? How about that? He was on NBC, came to mainstream people that he don't like. Home girl, she was the Proctor. She was doing an excellent job. She says,
Yes.
"Yo, you owe 400 and something $1 million in taxes." He did not denounce that. He was like, "Well, if you're worth what I'm worth, oh really? But you haven't paid it. You paid the 750. So come on, B. Really?
Hey,
Like, go ahead.
if you owe child support, you can still you're not a criminal because you owe child support. You can still vote. That's Calvin.
Yeah. Oh, Calvin. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. You know,
Uh,
and those are the kind of things when we talk about bail reform. If you owe child support, I don't feel you need to be in jail for 100 years. I think you should, of course, you need to pay your child support. But the bottom line is, also there's a whole different loophole with that too. Are you in there because she's mad? Are you in there because you're not paying your child? If you're a deadbeat dad, then I don't know what to talk about. I'll talk about you to your face. But the
yes.
bottom line is, don't mean you have to stay uh in jail for 7 months. You know what I'm saying? When it's not a violent crime. Um, let's talk about um what can people do uh to to make this election comfortable for even for the elderly. I mean, I know you do when you were running, you had lines, call-ins and everything. I mean, are there anything that we can do to help the elderly get to these polls to vote?
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother Bill. That's an excellent point. I think to you I can't remember who was your stepmother.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
so you're looking out for your neighbor and on your floor. If you live in a high rise and you know a couple of neighbors, just touch base with them. Hey, I'm here. I'm available. Do you need help? Um, if there's somebody in your family you can call, hey, you need a ride to the poll site, because a lot of folks are concerned about being, in contact with folks during this COVID-19. But you can do a whole lot. You can actually get a document, absentee ballot, and you can, let's say somebody they really want one of those. You can pick up the form, download the form, take it to them, that particular person, have them sign it, and you can go to the board of election in your borough, and they will give you that ballot for that person right there. You give them that document that shows
Mhm.
it's signed by that individual, and they authorize you to pick up their ballot. You could pick it up, take it back to them, and have them vote on it, and then you can put it in the ballot box on the 11th. I'm sorry, November 3rd on that day, or any one of those days that the early voting is taking place. There's just so much that we can do. It's the little things that's going to make a difference. And again, as I said earlier, if you can get 3 to 5 people that you've helped to cast their vote, that's major. Imagine if we all do that. And don't assume what somebody's going to do. And most people have that day off. It is a holiday, a paid day. And if you're not working the polls, then help somebody. And if you don't have anything to do, as I said, come on over to the headquarters. And anytime we get a call, we may dispatch you. Just be some eyes on the place. You can be poll watchers, or somebody needs a chair. Somebody needs some water. Whatever we can do to make this look. We're going to do the low-hanging fruit. It's easy.
Absolutely. Everybody, this is Assemblyman Al Taylor. I'm your host, Bill Forster. This is Real Talk Chronicles. You are with us on a Monday. This is what we do. We are countdown to election. Vote. Biden, Harris, 45, Pence. You know what I'm saying? I don't even want to say their names. You know what I'm saying? And this is, and trust me, this hasn't anything to do with Republican, Democrat with me. This is just, I feel, like I said, I say this personally. I speak for me. I just think he has disrespected the Oval Office. He is changing constitutions and legislations. With his administration is getting incarcerated left and right, and people are still co-signing it because maybe you got $150 more in your check, or you feel that he's really doing something for you. Let me tell you something: straight coal mining daughters, like knock it off in straight hillbillies, and a lot of law enforcement. I have a problem with the fact that law enforcement endorsed him. I thought that was real disrespectful, but without asking. I posted something recently about I think I posted it about certain people of color in law enforcement speaking out, talking about that. But talking about law enforcement, let me ask you questions on, and let's definitely chop it up on this. And I appreciate you giving me your time. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you might have to go soon because I know Gwen might be like, "Come on home, Daddy." You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm waiting for her to come in. I go downstairs and meet her in a little bit.
All right, well, so good. So I won't
keep.
I'll rock with you until either I get the cue or the text or I know it's time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you, what's your take on the Breonna Taylor's, the George Floyd's, the Amir Arbery's, and I'll just give you my personal opinion from a law enforcement standpoint. I feel I just posted the interview that Gayle King did with Kenny Walker, her boyfriend, and there was so many gaps in that. Being from a law enforcement standpoint, law enforcement people always talk about, oh, well, don't Monday morning quarterback things. Listen, you got people getting millions of dollars on ESPN, on CNN, NEPN, Fox in, somebody's in. You know what I'm saying? the morning Monday quarterback it. So I can morning Monday quarterback it, and there are people that are deemed experts that work in law enforcement fields for Monday morning quarterbacking this. You know, that's crazy what's happening. George Floyd, it was a travesty. I think what made people wake up, you saw Mr. Arbery get killed by people that were just pro cop. And when I say pro cop, just still thinking they're law enforcement, and to see a person of color running out here in the street, jogging, minding his own business, and then you guilty by association.
Yes.
Or guilty by color. Breonna Taylor situation was a travesty. The fact that the attorney general didn't push for certain charges, when you listen to that man talk, I don't know if you saw it, I'll send it to you. Listen to him tell his story about what happened between him and Breonna Taylor and how they treated him. It is so disparate, so disheartening. Just give me your insight. Shout out to Clay Treadwell, Barry Johnson. Shout out to all my people in the building. I see you, Diane. We'll talk to you real soon. Kevin Graves, I know I want to read some of your posts. I get it. I got you because, but I just, the Reverend Al Taylor, and we're going to talk about that real quick. I want to ask him too, how did he become a reverend? But I just want to stay on certain topics, and then we still got to just ask him about the mayoral race. And I also too want to ask you, what do you think about Mayor De Blasio? But go ahead, let's talk about Breonna Taylor and those individuals that have lost their lives to police.
Wow. My experience is certain in law enforcement is certainly not as vast as yours, Bill. But one of the
Yeah.
things that we were trained is respect. So,
Right, right,
um, and I believed everything at 19. I am a military police officer, graduating out of class after I don't know 12 weeks in Alabama. And the things that the playbook that we operated from, at least I operated from, based on what they'd given me, was always attention to detail and follow rules and regulations. I haven't heard his story that Gail did, but inherently, a whole lot of things were wrong in that process.
right, right,
One,
right,
I think the idea that you can get a warrant so easily is problematic. The very
yeah,
fact that, and we did away with it in New York. We
yes,
eliminated
yes, yes.
the no knock warrant. So I mean, the whole thing is systematic racism, that you're going to arrive at a place, and I get bad guys, good guys, but you're going to show up, and the whole thing is everybody is bad automatically. You're not even going to have a discussion.
Right,
We
right,
know on the other side of that door there's somebody bad. Period. That
right.
was a wrong mindset. That teaching was wrong. And I don't know what in the name of God the district attorney charged them with, but I think on a bad day there should have been
Manslaughter or something.
involuntary
Yeah,
manslaughter or something. I would go for the juggler and let the grand jury tell me that they can't do it. But I found something wrong with the fact that they couldn't get any charge on this person, as well as the very fact that there were failure to bring charges in Eric Garner's case as well, right? That cop
well,
stayed on.
Al, let me just interject. Um, from a law enforcement standpoint, for anybody that's out there listening, when we make an arrest, we charge with the highest crime that we can, and we let the ADA break it down to whatever they deem fit. This attorney general didn't do that. He deemed fit not to charge them with anything unbecoming of that a certain crime of like
Wow.
murder, manslaughter, that aspect. So he didn't even put that on the table because he was like, nah, that's not what's happening. We're
So
going to
that's
charge
the
him
problem.
exactly. He charged them from shooting the wall. You know what I'm saying? Like the dude got charged for shooting at a wall, and it's almost like in the sense of New York, like we would say recklessly. Like he shot a wall that could have shot some that the bullets could have went to somebody else's apartment. So it wasn't even the fact that he shot his gun. He shot at a wall that could have hit your apartment, and I'm shooting at Malika's apartment. You know what I'm saying? Like
So they could have at least got him reckless endangerment.
he didn't charge anything, and that's why people called him coon and
Wow.
called him out. And the young lady, the stallion, I forgot her name. Uh, she called him out. He got offensive to that. I will send you the clip with Gail King's interview. It
Yeah,
was
just
very
pull it up. I'm
touching.
gonna watch it when we finish.
Yes,
I
yeah,
see it right
it
here.
was very touching and things of that magnitude. You know, like I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, they don't reach out to the individuals. Like I talked to Kevin Graves about this, and I talked about you. You know, they don't reach out to the brothers like me that talk about change. I tell people all the time in law enforcement, you cannot change a person's mentality that's been raised to feel a certain way for 20 some years.
Right.
3 hours of training is not going to happen. So I feel inner city kids, inner city youth. When I go around and I speak around the country and speak to people on how to interact with law enforcement, I tell them all the time: take the test, be a, be the change that you want. Everybody talks about
Yeah.
anything you can be in life, but nobody talks about being a civil servant. But and no disrespect to my white friends and white people, because there's some great white officers, but they train their kid to be second, third generation law enforcement. And this is why the ideology that they get, I always ask them, where's the sheets? You know what I'm saying? Because the sheets, you understand what I'm saying? Listen, Al, we go back in a certain time,
Yeah.
Mississippi burn in the 60s. Those are people that were police officers. that ideology, they taught their children the same way, and then they taught their children the same way. So
Yes.
now we have a systemic racism, and this is the ideology, and people need to get away from that. Maybe it may never change when you and I are here on this earth. God willing, it will. But until then, so I'm going to ask you a couple more questions real quick. Um,
Hey, Bill.
what? Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
On the note that you just shared about systemic racism and that how the cloak and dagger. So the Klan were judicial, or not judicial, law
Good.
enforcement and so forth like
Yeah.
that in the
Hmm.
courts.
Yes.
I don't want to say these are one and the same,
Hmm.
but I must say, or at least I feel led to say, that we have to also be mindful that when we are picking up guns against each other and the level of disdain that we have to shoot each other, we're
Hmm.
taking the place of some of those same Klansmen by doing their job. And there are a lot of reasons why we have guns in our hands. There are a lot of reasons why there's anger. But the bottom line is we've got to nullify that so that we're not shooting each other. And when we see each other, um, we can't be afraid of each other. We can't be that this or that and that look. How do we change? And I think this is probably along the lines of community safety
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
public safety more
Yeah.
so than policing. And we have to stop giving each other that menacing look. We really got to go back to the woodpile.
Well, Al, I let me just say this, and I think you may agree with this, or you may disagree with it. First and foremost, everybody out there, you have to do your part in being a better person. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's you know, let's look at the narrative and the facts of this, and because that was such a real talk question. Al referred it to me, and that's what real talk is about. Because now we're just sharing. No, and that's what real talk is. It's about sharing dialogue, going back and forth. And the bottom line is, you know, we talk about black on black crime, and the media shows that all the time. But if we're going to go with percentiles, say if it's 93% black on black crime or brown on brown crime is happening with each other, it's the same. It's like 85 or 86% for white on white crime or whomever. We covered from a psychological aspect and from any generational thing. We covered the people that we commit the crime on. So most of the times, a lot of times, blacks are committing crimes on blacks, Latins are committing crimes on blacks, vice versa. Whites are committing crimes on each other. But the media is not showing that. But now let's keep it 100 too. People of color, we have to do better too, and make sure that you know we want to be accountable. This takes me back to how I feel that villages raised you, Al, villages raised me, and villages raised my listening audience that are watching, because we all grew up in an era that the notorious killer still had manners. He would still carry Miss Johnson's bags upstairs. He may kill her son, but over gambling, but he still respected her.
Yeah,
He still didn't curse. You
yeah,
know understand what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
like, can you say a verse without a curse? So even like the mafia was big on that. Like our generation, and no disrespect to the youth out there today, but I think society took us reprimanding you in a village, reprimanding you and raising you,
Mm-hmm.
where you right now are just out there and you just acting wild, and people of color cannot do what a lot of white friends can do. I've seen it a lot of times. Our white counterparts, and this is no disrespect, this is about white privilege, this is not about disrespecting any white person of color, a white person. But white people get privileges where they do something, oh, little Petey is growing up, he's just going through some things. Little Al, little Billy doing something, let's get him some medicine, or let's send him to boarding
Handcuffs.
school. You know what I'm saying? Well, wait a minute. All I did was use a slingshot and hit a bird. Now you telling me I got anger issues. Yo, this dude right here just hung a cat up. And now, you're just talking about he has anger issues. So let's send him to a guidance counselor. But right now, you want to put that on my record. So this is something for you people to. And when I was working in the board of ed, teaching at the Harlem Children's Zones, teaching martial arts, I would see parents that had some kind of old school mentality
Mhm.
reprimand their children, and then I didn't see them for a few weeks, and the next you know, I see them outside, and I'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" And they were like, "Hey, what's up, Sensei?" And I was like, "What's wrong? I haven't seen you." He's like, "Oh, I can't come into school." I was like, "Why? What happened?" Because the principal called me in and told me about my child doing something wrong. I reprimanded my child in front of the BCW and stuff like that. So you know, it's that catch-22 for us, and we lose our power as a parent.
Yes.
So now we don't even hit our children anymore. And then you have people in power that are there, but they don't have our best interest, and they'll tell them, "Well, if your parent hits you, call the police." What?
My mother say, "Hey, can I get here before I finish whipping your butt?"
Yeah, Al. You know, when we was growing up, if our parents our parents would be in the jail with Nicky Barnes and Al Capone. The way they beat us.
For sure. You
You
know,
know what I'm saying? And I ain't
yeah,
gonna hold you too
for
much, but
sure.
let's just get into the mayoral race here in New York City, and let's get into. Tell me what you think about what has De Blasio done for this city of New York, good, bad, or different.
I think that the platform that the mayor came in on is different, and it started to look different. The end of his first administration versus what it looked like when he came in his
Okay.
first term. The expectations were greater. I think he's exasperated matters more so than helped.
Right,
Um, People felt abandoned. Now,
right, right, right.
I've worked with him. I continue to work with him. I don't necessarily pick fights, and if I don't agree with you, I'll let you know I don't agree with you. And then,
Absolutely.
and unless you invite me in a public space to disagree with you, then I'll do that too. But typically, I like to handle my business one on one in terms of what I like about you, what I don't like about you. But I'm always mindful of the interaction that I have with the different city agencies. So whether I'm advocating for somebody in an HPD property, whether I'm advocating for someone that's on Rikers, whatever that city entity is, I'm mindful that when my office is engaging, that I will get the leverage that I need. And I call it leverage. Somebody else will call it something else. I don't know. But I want to make sure that I can bring home results for my constituents and the people that I'm advocating for. So when I call, they pick up the phone. Um, God, I don't want to go on that one yet. But there
Hmm.
is a breakdown in a disappointment in what my expectations were versus where we're at today.
Right.
Um, I think that the school thing is going to be a problem. I thought that we should have stayed out altogether. Initially, when I was looking at it, I was like, it's possible. But as I listened to more and more parents, my takeaway, Bill, was that I think that we should stay out and keep kids out until January.
Right,
Because when
right,
you
right,
look at the holidays that are going on, and it will give you more time to bring some other things together. I just saw a report the other day that there are kids that are going to school for their classwork, and only to find out that while they're there, these students are getting um, like remote learning, so they could have stayed home that day.
right. Hmm.
So there are a lot of missings, and when you look at how many teachers are needed to do this work, they don't have them. They
Right,
don't. They're
right.
just and honestly, let's be 100. If right now I had to send my kid to public school, it wouldn't happen. I would
But
not.
Al, this is the craziest thing about things like this. You know, you you know, people are we can't go out to eat, but we can send our kids back to school. Like it's kind of like a oxymoron right there, right?
Hmm?
Like let's keep it real. What do you think about how the governor has handled things? Some people have mixed feelings. They say he's a good reader. You know what I'm saying? He has a good staff. I mean, some people think he has done an exceptional job. I have people calling me from other cities and places talking about, oh, your governor is handling this business. I have people in New York talking about, yo, all he can do is read. He just has good people. He is the same governor. I don't know. What's your take on him?
I'm gonna be a little bit of just what you said. I've gotten people from outside of the state that says, "Oh man, the governor." I don't have any problems with our governor. I would
Yeah.
like to see New York tax the top 150 billionaires that live in the state. Let them pay 1 or 2% more. I think that will help us a long way in recovering financially. I'm also looking at numbers. So I think 2 weeks ago we were up to 0.6% of a rise in the COVID-19, and now I think the numbers are down to 0.3 or something like that. I'm always of the mindset the devil's in the details. I
Yes.
think that we should be proactive. Um, so you can't get to the egg. You can't have the omelet without breaking that egg. So for me,
All right.
I'm still out there. I'm not sure I would have done a book at this stage, but that's him. You know,
Yeah. That was
he
gang. That was gangster. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was
That was gang.
gangster, and we
Yeah.
haven't gotten there yet. So there's more work. What I'm concerned with is making sure that we can close the loopholes. If we're going to face this again, and all accounts say that New York is going to get hit again, um, remember the essential workers were going to work. Their kids were home with somebody else, and they were out working and working and working. And now there's a possible threat to reducing the workforce that of our essential workers. What
Mhm.
is going to become of this city and this state
Right.
if we start laying those people off? I think one, we have to look at now. He's given us a moratorium, which we appreciate. But right now, we have to make sure that people that can't pay their rent are not getting put out, right? We have to
Exactly.
make
Yeah.
sure that, so there are a couple of narratives here. You have legislators that are small landlords. So let's say you own a brownstone, like one of
Yes.
our family members. He has a brownstone. So in
Absolutely.
that brownstone, he may rent to two people, but he still has to pay a mortgage. So we're telling those people, you're not going to have to pay rent, but we're still expecting you to pay mortgage. And if we
Crazy.
can't, you got to pay your taxes and you got to pay mortgage unless we can figure out a way to make him whole. And so there is conversation. If his loan or their loan is through one of the non-chartered banks in New York State, that's going to be a problem because we can't tell Citibank or Chase, you can't do this. But if we have a state chartered bank, then we may be able to negotiate something to help them with respect to the mortgage. So if I'm not getting rent from my renters, but I still have to pay tax in my mortgage, what are we going to do? So there are a lot of things that are out there. We definitely need to hit these wealthiest people in the state of New York. And I don't believe they're going to leave our state because they can't get money. The speaker, who I admire, Speaker Carl Hasty, is on
Okay.
board with it.
Okay.
And I know Senator Andrew Stewart Cousins is on board with it. So we
All
just got
right.
to make that happen. And that's going to bring relief, billions of dollars that we need in this state to make a difference. So I know you asked me the question about the governor.
No, no, yo, Al. I told you this is your
Uh,
show, baby.
I
You chop
want to
it
make
up,
sure
baby.
that we get some money because we're going to go back to session. We're going to be in session somewhere after this election. And the question is, it looks like this: if you have um, goodness, Biden win, then there's a good chance that New York State could be whole because we can get the money.
Absolutely.
The backside of that, if he doesn't, then we have to come back and reshuffle and look at how we're going to fill that financial gap, whether it's 20 billion or 40 billion. We have to do something. New York City has asked to borrow money. They need permission from us in order to borrow the money. A
Right.
lot of us are saying yes. Um, my takeaway is that the governor wants to say yes or is saying yes, but then he would control that narrative. And so they're not interested in that type of hands-on control that the governor would have if they're able to borrow that money. So there's some back and forth, and things I'm learning is the devil is always in the details. We need a lot of money to make sure that the essential workers aren't laid off around the city and around the state. Everybody needs to be employed. I think Nancy Pelosi is doing a good job of holding um, the feet to the fire. I think today she said if they don't make a deal in 48 hours, which is now probably down to 24 hours,
Yes.
then no money will happen until after the election.
Yeah.
And she's asking that states make money. So just so everybody understands, we're not begging from New York State. We send billions of dollars to Washington every year on federal taxes, and we don't get half or nearly half of what some of the other places are getting in the return. So the amount of money that New York State puts into the federal coffers is so much more than the average other state, and they're reaping more than we are.
Wow. That's deep. And listen, I got a few things. I know we're at the 2 hour mark, and but I got a couple more things I want to
I'm with
chop it
you.
up with you. But first and foremost, what I'm going to do, this is a Real Talk Chronicles exclusive. Everybody out there, I'm offering Reverend Al, Assemblyman Al Taylor, his own Real Talk Chronicles show with me once a month, whatever he wants to do, where we could just
Oh
talk
wow.
straight politics and just Al and I can kick it. He can have his own guests and we can sit here and we
Wow.
can talk politics, or he could just come in whenever he lets me know he wants to do it. If he accepts this offer, that we could just come in here and just talk politics and keep people informed of what's happening in Harlem, give his
Oh
views
man.
on mayoral, governor, uh, presidential, whatever. We could just talk politics. My family to your family, Al.
Yes.
If
Yo, dude,
if
I'm
you
done. Yo, I'm in there. You ain't got to finish that statement. I'm there. Let's make it happen, baby.
all right, we would
It's
definitely
going
rock that.
down.
Yeah,
It's
that
going
I
down.
appreciate
Once
you. I
a
love
month,
you, man.
right? I hope
That
the audience is all right with that.
audience, trust me, I'm sure they all right with it because the bottom line is this is Real Talk Chronicles. If you like it, share it. This is what it is. Let's talk mayoral upcoming elections. There are a lot of people that are throwing their hats in the game. Like, what's your take on that? What are you feeling about the mayoral
Uh,
elections?
uh, you want to ask me that question? I'm the guy that endorsed Scott Stringer
Oh,
early.
oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Breaking news.
yeah.
Breaking news.
Well, that's all right. Yeah, I mean,
Breaking news. And that was about 3 weeks ago. And Scott and I are have a relationship for over like 30 years.
okay,
I like his
okay,
work ethics that he's done. There's been a little bit of pushback. I love Eric, and as you know, you were with me, and you got out early that day. We had
yeah.
Borough President Ruben Diaz that was with it. So there's some great people that are out there that are running. And I think one of the things that we want to do, at least I try to do, is um, I don't mind disagreeing. I just don't like to be disagreeable. And so everybody has a horse in the race. I'm running with Scott.
Okay. And this is no. I mean, because I
I spoke
respect
to
that.
Eric Adams the other night. Eric was up here in Harlem, and we were speaking, and
Yes.
somebody called me and said, "Yo, Eric is over here in my shop." And so Eric Adams is a candidate for mayor as well. And he's like, "My man Al, what's going on?" He said, "Yo, you ain't my road dog like you used to be. What's going on?" He was joshing with me, and
Yeah.
he understood because I had a conversation with him. I had a conversation with Ruben Diaz. So I like to be clear across the board. So I spoke to these other candidates before I made my announcement and everything. And so it wasn't a surprise to them, it's a surprise to other folks, but we still have a relationship. And with ranked choice voting, I may have chosen the wrong person. I think I chose the right person, but the citizens of New York City will determine that.
Absolutely. And you know
And
what's so
let's get
funny? I
Doc and
mean,
let's get Eric and all these guys on. I'm sorry. That's the
no,
conversation
no,
to bring them
no.
all on.
This is what Al Taylor exactly. We're going. This is what we're going to do because the bottom line is this is the platform. Eric is my man. I used to work with him in law enforcement. You know, I don't know Scott personally. Uh, is Ruben in or he's out? I thought he was in, but I thought
He's out.
he's out. He's out. Shout
When
out
he's
to
turning
Ruben
kids
Diaz.
next year, he's what?
Respect.
My
We
man,
go. Yeah,
BX.
yeah.
BX.
Fly brother. Eric is my man. Um, I know there's some other names. We're gonna talk about that. So Al, this is what we're gonna do.
Mhm.
You and I are gonna sidebar, and you're gonna let us know what days or what day. If it's once a month, every 2 weeks, you tell me. Because I'm getting chimed in. People are talking about they want to hear from Al Taylor. So that's what's up. That's real talk, right? They want to hear from Al Taylor. So we'll sidebar, and you let me know what days you can go, and we can have politics with Al Taylor on Real
Absolutely,
Talk
brother.
Chronicles. We're gonna do that. Everybody out here, this is Assemblyman Al Taylor, my brother. I appreciate him. This is Real Talk Chronicles. If you like what you heard, let us know. Subscribe to the like button on YouTube. We were YouTube live. Shout out to June for letting everybody know that we were YouTube live. You can watch it from YouTube. You can watch it from Facebook Live. I'm your host, Bill Forster. Listen, if you got something you want to say to Assemblyman Al Taylor, I see a lot of people in here chiming. They want to get connected to you. Listen, I'm not. I know you're looking at me to be the vessel, the connection, but I will protect him too, just as I will make sure that I'm not going to channel anybody to him just because they say they want to talk to him. You understand what I'm saying? Because otherwise, that you can go through your own place. The beautiful thing is that we have a connection to Al. Al is out there on the forefront. Anybody that knows Assemblyman Al Taylor, he is walking that path. Let me ask you a question. Any other aspirations for higher political things, Al? Mayoral, maybe governor, just
Hey, hey,
anything.
hey, Bill, listen, I tell folks, I'm a country guy, man. I like where I'm at right now, man. We talk about Harlem. We talk about all those other names they try to attribute to Harlem. Just when I'm starting to rock, they want to move me. No, I'm happy just where I be. And,
Right,
and, and let me just be clear. I would not say no if it looked like something that people wanted and thought that I should be doing. But Al
right,
Taylor, I don't have any aspirations to be the governor. I just want to be the best damn assembly person, the
right,
best pastor I can do, the best Harlem person that I can be, so that when I'm in a daycare or if I'm in a kindergarten class, wherever I'm at, the people that I'm engaging feel that they can get to the next level. What I really want to be able to do is mentor and see who's going to be the next whatever. Because here's what happens, and I say this, and people haven't taken me up on it. Normally, the elected officials, I don't do this, but they'll go to churches and they want to be Sunday morning. They want to stand up there and talk about, well, I'm the Reverend Righteous so and so, and I want your vote. And my thing is, I can respect that, but why is it that we haven't looked into our own mosques, our own churches, and we've got our kids that have gone to some of the best universities in America, and we haven't singled them out and say they're going to be the next political leader of our community? Why did it take me so long to get into this seat? Why did it take others so long to Brian Benjamin to get into a seat? We need to start. Sorry about that. I'm getting excited. We need to
Yeah, guess what?
really,
Get sight. Get high. I'll throw my glasses off too. Shit, let's get it.
yeah, man. No. We need to create
Yeah,
a pathway for those that are interested in civic engagement,
yeah.
so that why that old dude's still there. Well, he may be doing a great job, or she may be doing a great job, but what's the alternative? What have they worked? It's like if you're playing baseball. I don't play it, don't understand it that well, other than hit the ball. But you have the minor leagues, and you got people coming up out of there. They're prepared to step into that space. We
Yeah.
have failed across the board to prepare our young people for life as a public servant. And people say,
Absolutely.
well, I don't want to be a politician. I always tell people that these politicians, I'm a public servant. And I know when people say politician, some people say it with this disdain. Well, them damn politicians. Nobody said them damn doctors, but
Hmm.
they say them damn lawyers. I say, I'm a public servant. I come to work. And
Exactly.
honestly, they don't pay you enough for the stuff. And I go with everything except when you put your finger in my face, and then I gotta leave you because the conversation is over. You're
Yeah,
being
yeah, 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 yeah,
disrespectful, and you
yeah, yeah,
think that
yeah.
that's
Don't
a
let's
little
not get
tactile. I'm
disrespectful.
like,
Exactly.
come on, I'm gonna go
Exactly.
catch a case. I just leave.
Well, listen. Let me tell you something.
Thank
You
you.
know, I got your back. Anytime you need somebody to walk with you, talk with you, hold you down. You got free of charge. You got your brother over here.
I
I
appreciate
carry.
it, man. I
My knuckle
appreciate it.
game is still good. Let me tell you, I'm a little tired, a little older. You know, we a little older, but still, I know how to still handle my bi. And
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
between you and Uncle Willie, man, we be like, what's that movie? I'm gonna get you, sucker. You gotta have your own music and your own crew. Shout out to Uncle Willie.
Shout out to Uncle Willie, the big OG, always giving
Yes,
a words of
indeed.
wisdom and advice. Listen,
Thank you
Al,
so much, my brother.
hold on. We didn't even talk about the religious religious aspect of whom you are. We would do that again, Al. Hold on when we log off from everybody else. Still chime in. Everybody, if you like what you heard, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. We had Assemblyman Al Taylor in the building today. He has agreed to have his own show with Bill Forster and Malika Forster. We will set that up. So the next time I speak to you all, Wednesday, I will be back with Kevin Branzetti, and I will have a date or some similarity to what we can do with Assemblyman Al Taylor. I am your host, Bill Forster. This is Real Talk Chronicles. Thank you all. Appreciate you all. Get out and vote November 3rd. We count down. We're like 20 some days, I think, right?
No,
Less
no,
than that,
we
maybe.
got like 14 days now, something like that.
14 days,
Yeah.
14 days. People get out and vote. Early voting. Let me tell you something. Let's get this dude out of office. A lot of people are scared. I know a lot of Republicans are scared because a lot of early voting, because people want to get out there and make their voice heard. Please don't be too woke that you won't get out there and vote. And if
Yes.
you're not voting, don't talk to me because I have no conversation for you. That's Assemblyman Al Taylor. We will be back Wednesday. This is Real Talk Chronicles. Al,
Yes.
hold on. We logging off from this, but hold on. Everybody, like it, share it. I appreciate you. I see you in a minute.
Thank you
Thank you
much.
all.
Blessing. Real talk, y'all.
Yes, this is up.